Hello, my name is Greg Anderson. I'm the chairman of the Sandwich Historical Commission, and I welcome you to this next hour or so where you will be watching the latest meeting that we hold every month for the Sandwich Historical Commission. Our job is to preserve and promote and protect and advocate for the assets and anything that is of historical nature in the town of Sandwich. This is our meeting. Welcome to it, and you're welcome to join us in person the first Wednesday of every month at 6 o'clock. Okay, I will welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. I will call the meeting to order. I want to go around the room first and introduce ourselves. So why don't we start with Carolyn and use our nice TV studio voices.
Carolyn Cole, longtime resident of town, a native.
Yes.
My name is Deb Rich. I am the Sandwich Town Archivist. I am not on the commission. I'm sitting here as a part-time consultant and otherwise interested party.
Valuable member of the group. I'm Greg Anderson. I am the chair of the Sandwich Historical Commission.
And my name is Bill Daly. I'm a member.
Jennifer Madden, a member.
Okay, so we are missing other members. We may have somebody that will walk in a little late, but we are going to start. So I have distributed the minutes from the last meeting, and are there any notations or changes?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
In regard to the cow underpasses, the cow underpass, there was one, as he's got listed here, under Route 6A by Sandwich Motor Lodge and Stop and Shop. The other one is under the railroad tracks off of Old County Road.
Okay.
And the other correction is there is, under Sand Hill School Clark Added Building, there is no E on Clark, just to keep the record straight. That's it.
Okay. Gotcha. I will make a note of those. Do we have a motion to
I
accept?
have another correction.
Okay.
Staff meeting, second line down, says the 2 weeks prior to the meeting, the work went out to bid with several bids already submitted. No, we did not receive any bids.
Okay. So it is really 2 weeks prior to the meeting, the work went out to bid, period.
Period.
Okay. All right. Any other changes? Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I so move with the amended minutes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion is passed. I will make the edits. All right. Let's move along. We have some correspondence that I wanted to share with the group. The first thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is we had a discussion last week about the issue of the wing school, and I am embarrassed to say that I was not as clear as I should have been as it relates to what we had done in the past, that in fact we had made a very clear statement of position as it relates to maintaining the wing school. The structure. There was a correspondence that was sent by me on November 5 of 2015. I revisited that and looked at the notes and looked at the letter and drafted a follow-up, if you will, and I wanted to read it to get it in the record, if you will. How many times can I say if I will? But I feel it's important because, number one, I want it to be very clear that we do take a position in wanting to preserve that building, knowing that at the same time there is some discussion as to whether or not it is in fact historic. So
This is the 1927 portion of the building.
Exactly, not the rest of the building. So on October 26th, to the Sandwich Board of Selectmen and to Bud, I hand-delivered this to the Selectmen's office, which is This is correspondence that reaffirms the position of the Sandwich Historical Commission about the Henry T. Wing School and its historical significance to the town. I have attached a letter I sent to you on November 5, 2015 to offer guidance on the discussions about the building's fate. Since the letter was sent, Historical Commission member Bill Daley has addressed the selectmen with the body's position and his own, and we are active in the community as individuals to bring attention to what could be a colossal mistake in demolishing the 1927 building. The SHC is a duly sworn body appointed by the selectmen with a clear mission to identify, document, preserve, and protect the historic and archaeological assets of the town. Fact: the 89-year-old structure is a contributing member of the Old Kings Highways National Historic District, the Town Hall Square National Register Historic District, and the Sandwich Village Local Historic District. By virtue of its age and physical location, it falls within significant historical criteria. There is a misunderstanding that the original building in question is not a historical asset because it is not individually listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Indeed, it is not, and neither are Town Hall, First Church of Christ, the Hoxie House, and the Deacon Eldridge House. How is the original wing school structure any less significant? Surely discussion of the demolition of any of these structures would generate fierce historical support. I want to state clearly again that the SHC strongly supports retaining this 1927 building in an effort to further its significance, historical and cultural. Further sale of this building to a private developer who would then convert the interior to the needs, residential, and keep the exterior intact is perhaps the best scenario from our vantage point. This would be a win-win, a reuse that would maintain the historical significance of the building and make it a tax-generating asset in Sandwich. Demolition of this building would be short-sighted, untrue to the tenets of Sandwich's historical significance, and would strike the opportunity for the town to generate newfound tax revenue. The town is not in a position to throw money away. As I've stated before, I and the members of the SHC would like to participate in the process as the discussions focus on the future of this building and look forward to providing members of our commission to advise as needed. And then I attached the letter from November 5. I also put in a request to meet with Susan James. I have not heard back. So I'm assuming that once I'm able to get on her schedule, and I'm sure she's very busy, we will further the discussion by way of position. Any questions, observations, thoughts as it relates to this?
Any feedback from anybody with regard to the selectmen?
I will say no.
Okay.
I have not heard from anybody. Okay, so I wanted that to be on the record, if you will, and I am supporting anybody who would like to get creative in ways to help keep this structure in the significance by which we deem it, and I'm open to suggestions in and outside of this meeting as it relates to that. And I'll give this letter and put it in the records for the minutes. The other item of discussion, I received an email from Tom Atkins from NRG, and he wanted to update us on a point of conflict, I guess I would say, from a gentleman by the name of Mr. Longerin. The email reads, Mr. Anderson, I wanted to provide you with a quick update on the issue related to our community solar project, which is now under construction near the Sagamore Inn at the corner of Tupper Road and 6A. As discussed in the attached correspondence in the email below, NRG was made aware of the historical significance of the stone wall on Freeman Lane, forming the border between the towns of Bourne and Sandwich. And he is referring to the letter that I had sent last year stating, please be careful and let's discuss their ways of protecting it during construction. He goes on to say, during the early stages of construction of our solar facility, we noticed a gentleman by the name of Dennis Longerin working to repair these stone walls. We understand from an article in the Bourne Enterprise that Mr. Longren is a stonemason with an interest in land at the end of Freeman Lane. Nevertheless, we told Mr. Longren that he could not conduct any work on the stone wall on our side of Freeman Lane and Sandwich. Initially, Mr. Longren resisted our request, so the Sandwich Police Department was notified of a trespassing situation. The police visited the site and spoke with Mr. Longren earlier this week, and this is dated, I should have said that, October 13, 2016. Following that discussion, he stopped work and has not been seen on the site since. Given your interest in Freeman Lane, we wanted to make you aware of the situation. We will continue to update you with any new developments. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. And he did send a copy of the article, which did appear in the Bourne Enterprise, and I have a copy here if you want to take a look. So I am sharing it in their interest and my interest to make sure that they are staying on top of any of these types of preservation issues, and I appreciated NRG for reaching out on that. Any questions?
For the minutes, can you tell me how to spell Longren?
Lonergan.
What was the first thing?
Dennis with one N.
Yes. The article in the Bourne Enterprise came out on September 23rd by reporter Michael Rausch. Road determination clears way for home project in Sagamore. Jack McDonald was the photographer of the picture that was used. Okay. Anything else on that before we move on?
What about the archaeological letter that we got from Ronna Simon, who is the State Historic Preservation Officer of the Mass Historical Commission?
As it relates to the dig, I
Yeah,
have not received anything on that.
other than you got this.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're going on to that one next.
Oh, okay. All
Yep,
right.
yep. But I haven't gotten anything as it relates to the site visit that we had and walking through on that, which is what I thought you were referring to. Okay, Eversource Solar Array. I had distributed to you, and I have copies if you do not have them in front of you.
I have one.
Okay. This is communication that I received that came into the Selectman's office and was copied to a bunch of us, including the Old Kings Highway Regional Historic District and some other folks, Mashpee Wampanoag Tribe, others. And it's important to note that this comes from the State Historic Preservation Officer, Brona Simon, regarding Eversource Solar Array Site 75, 5 Briarwood Avenue, 61 Tupper Road, 6 Bacchus Road in Sandwich. And the letter reads, Dear Mr. Blanchard, staff of the Massachusetts Historical Commission, MHC, Office of the State Historic Preservation Officer, have reviewed the project notification form PNF and additional information received October 3rd and 13, 2016 for the project referenced above. The MHC notes that the PNF indicates that the proposed project requires NDPDES, general permit from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. The MHC will review the project under Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966 as amended. Review of the inventory of historic and archaeological assets of the Commonwealth indicates that the project impact area is within the Old Kings Highway Regional Historic District, listed in the State Register of Historical Places and a local historic district. The project may require a certificate of appropriateness from the Old Kings Highway Regional Historic District Commission. Ancient Native American archaeological sites are also recorded in the existing transmission line corridor in the vicinity of the project impact area. Undisturbed portions of the project impact areas are archaeologically sensitive. The archaeological sensitivity of the project area is principally defined by an environmental setting, which includes elevated, well-drained soils located in proximity to the former Tupper Creek and Cape Cod Bay, favorable for ancient and historic period land use and occupation. The MHC requests that an intensive locational archaeological survey be conducted for the archaeologically sensitive portions of the project. The goal of the investigation is to locate and identify any significant archaeological resources that could be affected by the project well in advance of any project construction. The result of the survey will be considered in consultation to avoid or mitigate adverse effects in any significant archaeological resources identified in the project. I had requested the PNF, and had yet to receive it, and as of my last contact with the town, they had yet to receive it. So the documentation that spurs all of this, I have not seen myself. But we were informed of this. Any questions, any thoughts?
Would, my thought, a question would be, does our colleague Jack McDonald, who initiated the UMass architectural study, would that be sufficient to satisfy, in your opinion, the request by the Massachusetts Historical Commission?
I don't know, but that is an open question. I don't know.
May I ask a question, Greg?
Yeah?
What are the impacts, I mean, they've already begun construction, of course, so what are the impacts of this letter in terms of after construction has begun?
See, I don't know. I don't have any of the background. I haven't been able to get anything further from this office. So as of where we stand right now, it's really this communication of you know, the way in which they are deeming this significant, but I don't have the background to show how they arrived at that.
My thoughts were, the Freeman farm was an active farm, and chances are that land has been plowed maybe many times, maybe, I don't know how many times, but it's not virgin, untouched soil. So any disrupt, I mean, they usually consider a plow depth of 8 inches. So to me, the chances are that the archaeological site would be down quite deep, because I suspect it had been farmed before and therefore disturbed. So it's not virgin soil that they're working with this, where they're putting in the array.
But as we know from previous meetings, Carolyn, that the posts will go down at least 4 feet,
Yeah,
so that would impact
yeah,
lower levels.
Right.
okay.
And the space, the geographic location that this is referring to, I'm not clear on. It's not clear. So there
Well,
is.
for this previous paragraph here is saying about, I mean, they're shooting in the dark. They're assuming because it's in the historic district, is then subject to archaeological research, archaeological
Right.
survey, because it's within the grand Old King County Historic District. So they're covering the waterfront.
Right. But the area that we walked was not that far down. Not even walked, but was discussing. So there's still more clarification that I'm waiting for on this.
Yeah.
Have you contacted the Old Kings Highway Historic Commission? Have they issued a certificate of appropriateness to?
Not to my
Company,
knowledge,
not to your
and I
knowledge.
haven't heard back, so I do not know.
Okay.
So there is more to come on this, and we can tell that there's plenty of construction going on down there. Have you driven by?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I was a little surprised at how much I could see. It seemed like it would have been further down.
I got the sense when we were talking that it was gonna be further back from the
Yeah.
road. It seems quite close to the road, but
Yeah, yeah.
you know, we didn't have any measuring tools or anything, so.
Right. Okay. Anything else on this, except I will provide you with more information as I learn it. Okay, public forum?
I had a question.
Yes.
What you were just talking about, the solar array,
Yep.
is that the NRG?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I heard Eversource, and I got confused.
Well, I don't, my understanding is that it is one and the same,
Okay, that was my question.
but that is my understanding. I'll give you a copy of that. The question, since.
I believe NRG is actually the contracted that builds the solar array, and then they sell the energy produced to Eversource.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we'll get some more clarification on that as we learn it, and I'll give you a copy of the letter. Okay, staff meeting. I'm tired of talking. Jennifer Madden, you're up.
Okay.
You can talk.
Awesome. All right, so an update on Cedarville. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the whole RFP.
Oh.
Yeah.
The
So,
whole?
the whole thing canceled.
Yeah.
Why was that?
Because, so Doug, we wrote it, Doug released it. He received a comment from a presumably interested bidder who inquired if the work would involve disturbing the earth. It does involve disturbing the earth. He responded saying that means that it is a public works construction project. Doug got a call and an email from the State Attorney General's office who told him that do not release it the way that it was. It needs to be a public works construction project, which requires a whole other set of documents. So the RFP,
Rules and regulations.
the RFP is just not the right way to do this. So there was no wiggle room in this. He canceled the whole thing.
How does this differ from the old Grove Street
It doesn't,
burial ground?
it doesn't. It's the same project.
They didn't hear about it, so they.
I guess they just didn't hear about it, right. So, so since then, things are unclear about how we will proceed after this. Doug is willing to write the new documentation, and I wish he was here because he's much better at all the terms than I am. He doesn't usually do those kinds of documents. Usually it's the DPW who does those for roads and sidewalks and buildings and that kind of thing. He's willing to do it. We've had numerous conversations. I have met with Irving Slavid, who did work for us at Old Town a couple times. He happened to be in the area. So he and his business partner, Martin, and I met at the cemetery after the RFP was canceled, just to sort of walk it and come up with ideas. I've talked to Doug numerous times. Doug wanted to contact Ivan Meijer, who, as you remember, wrote the master plan for Old Town Burial Ground, because he's involved in these projects all over the state and would have some ideas about how to proceed. So we just don't have a final plan worked out yet. So we may go ahead with a smaller project that would involve stones that need to be fixed that would not involve disturbing the earth. That's a possibility. Separating the tomb out is a possibility, but there's also some drawbacks to doing that. So the next round that we do may involve doing fewer stones than we had initially planned to do. We might try and attack it 2 different ways. We just don't know right now. Now, no work was gonna happen this fall anyway, because the work needs to happen in weather that's not freezing, so, below freezing. So we'll work on getting it out and bid so people could start working in the spring.
So we have time.
So we have time, exactly. It's not like we're losing a whole bunch of time. It's just the frustration at this point that we thought we had.
All the work you've already put in,
Right,
it
we
has
thought
to
we
get.
had it all worked out, and it is not all worked out. So,
What is the implication of unearthing material that triggers a different perspective from different contractors? Is that what I'm hearing?
the phrase that I keep hearing is disturbing the earth. Once there's any kind of disturbing the earth, it becomes a construction project. And Doug, when he was talking to the Attorney General's office, pushed back on that a little bit and said to her that we're not building a road, a sidewalk, a building. This is a whole different specialty. It's a whole different thing. And she said the law is very settled on this. There's no way that you can get around doing it this way.
Well-
So, you'll.
It sounds like something a bunch of lawyers decided they would give them something to do.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Keitha has been talking to all the family groups who promised money for the project to get those checks coming in, so that is happening. So progress is happening there. And then we're just, Doug and I are just gonna need to keep talking and come up with a plan.
Well, the RFP triggered the article in the newspaper, which was a good article, and it was recognizing you for all of the work that you're doing. So if there was any glimmer of, not hope, but any silver lining out of it, that's a good thing, because recognition was given where it is very well due. But we'll just keep this on the burner
Yeah.
and follow your lead on what we hear from Doug and revisiting this. And I welcome him if there's any opportunity that you think he might be able to clarify anything. It sounds like that'll be in the spring, it'll be
Yeah.
down the road.
Right, yeah.
But he's always a welcome guest if there's anything that he wants to help us with clarifying, but you're doing a great job. Any questions before we move on? I put on the agenda, the town clerk, his office has done a great job with putting an online posting of all of the town committees. It is getting away from paper and getting more focused on technology. It's very well done. I wanted to bring it to your attention. I did send an email out to go on there, look at it. It has your name, your term, contact information, all of that information on there. So it's a great step. I'm on 3 committees, and I'm trying to keep track of when I'm coming and going. But if you want to just look at it, I would encourage you to do that, to make sure that your information is consistent with what you think it is or what he says that it is online. But hats off to the town clerk's office for doing that, and I think it's a real nice step.
Yeah.
I did want to also note that, I'll get to that in a bit. Any old business? Okay. New business, let's talk about some historical markers, Mr. Daly.
I wish I could give you some definitive information, but I guess the only definitive information I can provide is that it's very difficult to get information on the 2 places in question, 2 Willow and 4 Willow Street. I went into the archives. There's virtually nothing in the archival record as to anything about these homes dating back to the period. It's confusing information as to how many homes there were originally. Originally there seemed to be 3, there were only 2. An 1857 map shows Deming Jarvis as the owner, as he owned so many of these pieces of property back in the day.
Which two houses are these?
2
I
and
know
4
which-
Water
I-
Street.
Willow?
Willow.
Willow, I'm sorry.
Okay,
2 and
so which
4.
houses are those on Willow?
The first 2 you come to,
From
on
where?
the right-hand
From
side.
Jarvis?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And one of them was
Leonard.
worked on in the 1980s, and was a new basement put in. So when you drive by, it may not look like an old home because it has a cement foundation, but the home was lifted and a cement foundation was poured. The other one has a traditional brick foundation that certainly looks to be in that, middle of the 19th century period. So it will entail my going down to the Registry of Deeds and going through step by step, working from the current owner all the way back to see if there's a direct line without getting into someone bequeathing it to an heir, and then that goes off another tangent to track it down from there. So I don't have anything to report, other than it is difficult to find and there's no names to track. There was an Adams that was an owner of one of these pieces of property in like the 1887 map, but there's no record of Mr. Adams in any of the family files. So there's just a bunch of dead ends right now. But we'll see what we can get. But the owner at 2 is very, at 4 I should say, is very eager to have a record, so.
Is the owner of 4 the same as the owner of 2, or are
No,
they two separate?
No, 2 separate pieces.
Is that a coincidence that they both approached?
No, we shouldn't go any further than that.
Okay, okay. I was just curious if it was the same owner that was representing
No.
both buildings. Okay, all right. This seems a little unique that you're hitting some dead ends
Yeah.
this early.
Yeah, this early, yeah.
Yeah.
There's usually some clue, but there's very little here.
Okay.
And Devin Jarvis, owned, I don't know, I never counted them up, but certainly in the hundreds of pieces of property.
Yeah.
And to track it back from him was very difficult because he bought the land originally from the farmer, and it's just hard to find it.
Yeah.
May I ask a question, Greg?
You just did, but
I will ask another question.
Let's take a motion if we can ask another question
another
from Deb. Okay.
I've run into this too, Bill, as a lot of people are calling me and asking me what kind of history information do you have for this property or this property. There's some along the beach area that I assume were only small cottages at one time or another, but somebody said it was built in 1927. There's no record of it whatsoever in the archives, and which made me think and want to inquire, when were these historical assets done? And what were the criteria for naming a house or identifying a property that should have information done to it? Russell Lovell did a lot of these, I know, back in the 70s, but
Well,
I have no record of what the criteria was. How did you choose one house and not another?
Well, preceded my time. This was done in 1973, as I recollect, when the Historic Commission was formed as an adjunct from the Massachusetts Historical Commission. And Russ Lovell was one of the people that started it.
Yeah, yeah.
And he did all the initial survey. Carolyn may or may not have been involved initially, but it was based on that and looking at all the homes that were in existence at that time that they could find on the earlier maps of 1857 and 1888, I think.
Oh, so it might have been just the homes that were represented on the
Yeah,
map.
and it had to be in that neighborhood. They were looking at 100 years old at that time. And all those houses out on Town Neck are all post-World War II houses. There's nothing original there to the earliest of times. That was a cow
Yeah, if you
pasture.
look at the 1947 topographical photograph, a quadrant topographical map, there you'll see, you got little squares for houses. Spring Hill Beach has a whole slew of cottages. Town Neck, sand dunes, period. It wasn't until the on the cover of the 1952 town report, it's an aerial photograph of Town Neck. The streets have been marked out not paved yet, one or two houses there. And in that photograph, you also see Scuffet area, Phillips Road is still sand dunes. Because you see Scuffet State Park is nothing but fill from the digging of the canal. That's all fill. And if you look at any aerial photographs and see what the Scuffet River Creek used to look like as it curly in there, they're all cut off now because the fill got dumped in there. And it was just a couple of years ago that the Corps of Engineers cleaned out the drain. That drained because Phragmites was moving in, and they wanted to drain that area to get rid of the water so that the Phragmites wouldn't grow. If you go out to Scuffet State Park, at the little rotary, there you can see the ditch which they cleaned out, and that drains that area. But some of the remnants of the old Scuffet River are still there. It's all overgrown now with Phragmites and pine trees and other kinds of vegetation. But the remnants of the old branches of Scuffet River are still there. But much of it's all filled in because all the dredges from the canal got dumped there. That's what Scuffet State Park is, nothing but fill from the canal.
So to answer specifically, I mean, I don't know, this was done almost
Right.
50 years ago.
Right.
And I suspect the criteria is in the file somewhere if you wanted to pour through to the
Old
origins
minutes.
of the Historic
As
Commission.
far as the street numberings, like 2 and 4, the streets were not numbered until the 1950s. Everybody knew where everybody lived. You didn't need to but the town population had grown enough and enough people had moved in who didn't live here that the fire department didn't know where people lived.
Right.
So if the fire department, the police department said, we gotta get these streets numbered so we can find houses when we get a call for Joe Blow needs some help. Where is it anyhow? So they did start numbering the streets.
Why back then they didn't just use GPS, I don't know. But, Carolyn, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay. Anything else on markers?
No, sir.
Okay. I'll open it up again to public forum, and I'm assuming that we have nothing. A couple of new business items or other business not anticipated by the chair, which I do want to just bring up quickly. Tomorrow, midday, high noon, I will be taping a TV show with Joanne Westerhouse on the whole Sand Hill School Clark Haddad building. Their efforts, really the whole run-up to the town meeting. I'm not deeply familiar with all that Friends of group is doing. I'm copied on all of her minutes and notes, but it's an effort, it's underway, and so we're going to explore that. And to the extent that there are is anybody on this group active involved with the Friends? I know, Jen, you're on the email.
I am on the email. I went to one meeting, but I would not call me actively involved.
Okay.
I've been to one, but I'm not actively involved. However, I believe our Historical Commission is actively involved to the extent that it's going to be on the town warrant in November.
Right.
And we have taken the position of preserving that particular building, which would be therefore in support of keeping it and the Arts Alliance ultimately using it, and it being reconstructed or recreated to look like one of the original building that the Sand Hill School will look like, with the architecture on the top. So at town meeting, it seems to me that the Sandwich Historical Commission should speak in favor of retaining that building as an organization that we would set forth, in addition to the spokespeople from the Arts Alliance.
Okay.
And that building has, and I just a quick 2 minutes. That building has heritage that's deep into sandwich history, in that the glass museum in the glass factory in the 19th century started out with bringing in immigrant workers who were not sandwich people, who were skilled glass makers, and brought them in to work. They had young families. The glass factory built a 2-room school right directly across the street from the glass factory. And that 2-room school serviced the needs of that initial group of people until such time as the factory expanded again and they moved the school down under the auspices of the town, which is the present location of the Sand Hill School. That school was about 1884, I believe. But prior to that was about an 1850 school. And so the origins are from glassworker children who went to that school, ultimately had to go down to the end of the glass factory operation and attended that school, which later becomes the Sand Hill School. So it's the whole story of the 19th century glass factory and immigration and education all wrapped into one. So to that extent, seems to me that the Historic Commission should be strong supporters of keeping that memory alive and that heritage alive during that period of time.
So noted, and I completely agree. There is a very nice write-up that I think Don did that's on our website from, I think, 2012, where he's got some nice photos and he's got some nice history of it. Tells the story similar to the way you did, Bill. So,
Yeah.
I am more than happy to, for me to speak on behalf of this commission at the town meeting, or if we want to identify a designee, doesn't really matter, but I agree.
Okay. And that anyone who may be listening that actually want to look at that, it's sandwichhistory.org.
You are very good.
Huh?
Maybe they'll put it up on the screen while we're talking here. Okay, by the way, as it relates to the Sand Hill School, there are 2 open houses that are coming up Sunday, November 13 from 12 to 3, and Saturday, November 19 from 9 to 2. So that's a nice way to get in, take a look, and to see it a little bit up close if you have not yet. Okay. Anything else before we wrap up and I take a motion to adjourn?
No, for me.
Okay. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.